Coming up on this episode of the Average Sports Guys podcast, Carson Wentz signs a huge deal. So what does that mean for the franchise? And with the Redskins, Trent Williams was not there during OTAs. There's some beef with the team. The Toronto Raptors beat the Warriors. Man, who would have thought that? And Drake, we're going to talk about him being a nuisance and what should be done about it. All that and more coming up next.
You're listening to the Average Sports Guys podcast with Eddie and Marcus.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Yo.
This is Eddie and Marcus with the Average Sports Guys. With the Average Sports Guys podcast.
Yes,
We're
sir.
here for episode 9.
New wavy.
Yeah, so we've been off a couple weeks. Mostly my fault.
Yeah.
We went on vacation. My wife and I went to Maui.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was 8 days. It was good. Bro, they did have record-breaking heat. So typically, and
Yeah.
I swear everywhere Chrissy and I go, it's always record-breaking something. So I guess they were saying it's typically in the upper 70s, low 80s.
Okay.
Bro, it was like 90 and above almost every day. I mean, look at this tan.
Yeah,
you know
you're
what I mean?
looking extra brown.
Yeah, and I was trying to use SPF 1,000,000, and it's still. I mean, we still had issues.
Yeah.
But overall, it was a great trip. People were nice. The locals were extremely nice.
Yeah.
Ate some good food.
I bet.
So, one of Chrissy's coworkers
Mm.
recommended to go to this place. I think it was called Mama's Fish House or something.
Nice.
You know, he was like, "Oh, if you guys like fish, you have to go there. Like, have to go there."
Right.
So we saw it when we were on the road to Hana, which I was telling you, it's a long, windy road
Yes,
through
sir.
the mountains and stuff. I mean, which that was amazing within itself. The waterfalls and the pools and, there's different places you could stop along the way, like scenic routes. Like I said, we saw the part where they filmed the beginning of Jurassic Park.
Nice.
We stopped at some black sand beaches, the whole nine, like what you would think of when you think of Hawaii.
Yes, sir.
So
That's good.
Yeah, so this fish house. So we go a couple days later. So we get there, and it's valet only.
Ooh.
So that raised the little spidey sense. And I'm thinking, wait, if it's valet only, man, they about to get us when we get in this restaurant.
Right.
So, we didn't think anything of it too much past that. We go to the first host stand.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and she was like, "Oh, do you guys have reservations?" I was like,
Yeah.
"No," and they just opened for the day.
Mm.
Do you have reservations? No. She's like, "Okay, well, follow the path around to the next hostess."
Ooh.
I was like, "Y'all got 2?"
Yeah, follow the
So-
windy brick road, yo. Yellow brick road.
So I'm like, "Oh man, we're screwed." So they finally, and so where you're waiting in the waiting area to go in, there's like all these pictures of these celebrities that like sign their autograph or whatever.
Oh, that's cool.
Saying they were here and
Mhm.
all that. Then I'm thinking, okay, yeah, we're screwed.
Yeah.
And so we sit down, the most amazing restaurant I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the menu, and I looked at Chrissy and I said, "You want to just like get up and leave?" But we didn't want to seem cheap,
Right.
or like ghetto or whatever,
Right.
And she was like, "Nah, we're fine." I was like, "But I want to order a drink." That drink was $18.
Nigga, what?
I got a Mai Tai.
Nah, I'm good. Late on that.
Oh man! And so like the cheapest dish was like $50 or $60.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was mother effing her coworker. I'm like, yo, when you get back to work, you need to let him know.
Yeah,
Like, he could pay a little bit of this bill.
Right.
We need some reimbursement.
That's right. You can get 33% of the bill because you didn't tell us about prices.
Right. And I was like,
Wow.
oh my God. So I ordered this like seared something or another. I mean, it was great. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But, of course, it's small.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get our food, and Christy's like, well, where do you want to go eat after this? Meaning, like, it wasn't enough to fill you up, but you're, like, broke. Like, I feel like I had to apply for a loan just to eat there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. And then, I mean, other than that, I mean, we had some.
Yeah, I bet it was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then just the view from the restaurant was amazing.
Oh, I bet.
And we ate at this other place called Down the Hatch. That place was dope.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was like an outdoor kind of like restaurant thingy.
Mm-hmm.
And It's like as you walk up to the counter, they got the menu, so you order what you want, and then you sit. All the tables are outside, and their bar is outside. And they had like koi ponds.
Nice.
And all that. I mean, it was cool,
That's dope.
and it was like reasonable prices. It was more of a younger crowd. Younger meaning like mid-20s to mid-30s probably. So it was cool. They had the music going, whole bunch of TVs behind the bar, they had all the sports and stuff. So I mean that was cool. And then probably my favorite restaurant was this place called Kimu's.
Yes, sir.
And one of the guys from the hotel that worked there, he was like, hey, he was like, do you guys like steak and prime rib? We were like, yeah. He was like, yeah, I thought you did. He's like, you look like a meat eater.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was a casual way of calling me fat. But I was like, yeah. So he was like, you got to go there.
Yeah.
It was pricey, but not for what it was. I mean,
right. Typical steakhouses, you're going to pay a little bit, but you're expecting that.
Right. And so the prime rib, like no lie, was like bigger than my face. It was like, I don't know, $40. It wasn't that bad.
Good business.
So we went there twice, but no, it was good eats. The beaches were amazing.
Yeah.
Like the resort we stayed at, had its own like beach, and there's a reef right there.
And you're
so
a fish guy, so
yeah.
I know you was loving that.
Yeah, I was seeing all these fish that some I used to have in my tank. Some I wanted,
right?
And so all I'm seeing is dollar signs. Like when I'm snorkeling down through there.
That's
so
awesome.
So I'm looking over at Chrissy. I'm like this. I'm pointing, and there's like this fish and that fish, and all I'm seeing is like $250 there for that fish. That times however many I just saw.
Yeah.
I mean, easily just in the 5 minutes I was in that one area, there's probably $4,000 worth of fish,
right.
and I was just like trying to catch them.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I mean, it was such a good time. I recommend if anybody can make it out there. I know it's a long way. We're on the East Coast. We're in Maryland. It takes a long time to get there, and then traveling through all the time zones and all that stuff.
Yes,
but
sir.
It's gonna be nothing compared to y'all going to Thailand.
Bruh, we are going to Thailand on the 24th, and I think that flight might halfway kill me. But but it's one of those things where it's like me and my wife plan on having kids within the next, I say 2 to 3 years. So we wanted to get like one more big trip out of the way.
Yeah, which I mean I think that's responsible.
Yeah, so we wanted to go like on one more big tour with a tour company over in Thailand, and see some cool beaches, see some Buddhist temples and Muslim temples and things of that nature. And then also we're both elephant lovers, like they're our favorite animals. So we're going to stop at a elephant sanctuary and hang out with elephants for a little bit. So that's one of our stops. And just like you like fish, I love photography. So I'm just loving, the opportunities of different pictures that I can take and hang up around the house type of thing. So
right,
I'm all in on this.
Oh no, for sure. And that's the one thing that pissed me off is I wanted to buy like a GoPro because like when you're snorkeling, like you can film it or whatever. And because it's crazy, like Chrissy almost got run over by a sea turtle.
Oh.
Yeah, because we were just out there swimming one day. We weren't like snorkeling or anything. And so there was like a group of people kind of behind us. And they were just like, ma'am, and they were trying to yell for her. And I turned around. As I turn around, I see the sea turtle. I mean, this thing is huge.
Wow.
And it's just like, just flapping its way.
Just chilling.
And I'm like, hey. I was like, babe. I was like, turtle. And she looked and she was like, oh, and started cussing. And then she realized what it was because she was a little freaked out because I think it was like the day before, 2 days before, there was like a shark attack. So, and people are like calling you in the water.
Right.
And so you like freak out. Yeah. And then she realized it was a turtle. And then the day that we actually did go snorkeling, I was, I kind of went down towards, like into the rocks a little bit. Yeah. And something told me to kind of like look over my shoulder. And there was a big ass turtle just swimming right next to me. So I followed him for, probably like 100 yards. Right. But it was cool.
It
was so cool. Yeah, man. Yep. So, on the football front, man, your Eagles, you guys got a deal done with Wentz.
Yeah, man. We got a 4-year, $128 million deal done with Carson Wentz that can potentially get up to, I want to say 154. And you can see I got my, my Carson Wentz T-shirt on because I'm a little charged up because I think that Howie Roseman in that front office did it again. Because at the end of the day, you're literally planning for your future at this point, and I think that signing him early was a huge deal, especially when you have a quarterback coming off of injury. He's a little bit vulnerable mentally, so what you want to do is sign him long-term now versus paying like $200+ on the back end.
Right.
And the way that they structured it was like extremely smart. So we're eating, I want to say, about $20-ish million in cap hit now. For the next 2 years, because that deal doesn't hit for 2 years. So we're eating some of the cap hit now because we fronted him 66, so we're eating some of that cap hit now. So when on the back end, we're only gonna be a cap hit of around 30 million, and then by that time the cap it will be jumping up to 200-ish and above that. So we can still have a squad with pieces around him to where he can still be successful. And on top of all of this, like I said, my biggest piece with this signing is that he was the first one, so he reset the market early. And you still have guys that are coming up like Dak Prescott, I'm going to talk about him in a second, and Jared Goff, and eventually you're going to get the Pat Mahomes and guys like that. So what you want to do is get your guy signed first, so you don't have to deal with the nonsense on the back end and trying to retain a legitimate team to contend for a Super Bowl.
Right.
So I'm really excited about that. And on top of that, you also got to really think about what we're doing at the quarterback position and as an offense overall to ease some of those stresses and anxieties that, Carson Wentz might have. Offensive line injuries, we've built depth there. We've gotten literally, in my opinion, a top 3 running back in Jordan Howard. There's only 2 other running backs that have as many yards as him or more since 2016, and that's Zeke Elliott and Todd Gurley. We drafted a Miles Sanders. We drafted Dillard. We drafted even some defensive guys. So, and then another receiver in J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, who's been balling in camp. Like, this dude is amazing. Like, every time I look up what he's been doing at camp and OTAs and things like that, he's a highlight. Right. And then on top of bringing in Deshaun Jackson to stretch the field, dog, I am excited. We're good. Well,
so I'll take it in a different direction. There was all that talk about, is Carson the guy? Is it not necessarily for skill set, but for other reasons.
Right.
There's the rumors about he's not well liked in the locker room, blah blah blah, whatever. Right. I know based on the Kirk Cousins situation when he was in Washington.
Yeah.
The one thing that is, even if it's not a daily thing in the locker room with the players.
Yeah.
The media and the beat reporters and all them, it's constantly when you're coming up on the deal, like 1 year left, and it's, well, are they going to extend them? Are they going to, get a deal done now? Are they going to get a deal? And so it's just always a deal. And then your other players have to answer that.
Right.
Like, oh, what do you think? Basically, do you think they should extend, Kirk and this and that, blah, blah, blah. So there's that aspect, and then there's also from the actual player,
right,
where you're like, okay, I've been injured. This other guy, won the Super Bowl.
Right.
So where do I fit? I think you put all that to bed.
We 100% did.
Because you signed that extension. It's lucrative.
Right.
You're happy. The team is happy as far as front office.
Right.
And so hopefully that allows less distraction.
I think it definitely does, because it was actually a team-friendly deal. Because if you look at the averages of what he's going to be making per year, it's not more than $26 million, which is amazing.
Because you look at percentage against the cap.
100%.
People try to look at the number, which again, you see this huge. You see the total number of the deal. Not all players are going to live out the life of the deal, or play out life of the deal.
No.
There could be restructure things down the line. So obviously the one thing people worry about and they're concerned about is, okay, we just paid this guy all this money. Do we have money to get other pieces and things like that?
Right.
For you guys, fortunately, you guys are solid in so many areas that you don't have to go out and do what the Redskins or some of these other teams have to do and pay this big splashy guy to come in. He's eating up a whole bunch of your cap, and then you still have all these holes.
Right.
So you guys are fairly solid collectively.
Yep.
So that allows you to pay him,
right,
keep your guys, and when the Deshaun Jackson's time expires, either he's just out of the league or the deal's over, he doesn't resign. You've got the draft picks to replace him.
100%.
You've got the young guys,
JJ
Arcega-Whiteside. You're hoping that they you can groom them, develop them,
Yep.
and they can slide into some of these roles where these older players are leaving.
Absolutely.
And you've got them on rookie deals.
Yep.
And so it's not.
Howie Roseman's been a wizard. Like, even like you just said, Deshaun Jackson's when it's basically, I think, after his time with us, he's probably done.
Yeah.
You think about the Alshon Jeffries,
Yeah.
JJ Arcega-Whiteside. He's a number one type hands receiver type guy. He's going to replace him. Jordan Howard, he's on a 1-year deal, and we're hoping that Miles Sanders comes through and takes over that number one role. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where Howie was very strategic and very smart with where he put his money and his draft picks and building up our defense. And then also you got to think on the back end with our corners. Yes, they got blown up after Jalen Mills and Ronald Darby went down, but in the playoffs they got valuable playoff experience. And then one of our rookie corners, well, I don't even think he's a rookie, but he was been in the league for not that long. Avonte Maddox was the number 1 rated slot corner in the playoffs last season, and that was just him from the point where people went down to playing in the playoffs. He just got that experience and got up to speed and everything. So overall, we have a really solid team. And, with the whole leadership thing that you mentioned before with Carson Wentz, I think now that the team knows, okay, this is our guy.
Right.
And what Carson Wentz has outspokenly said, he said, hey, I got to be a better leader. He's been saying that since we were bounced out of the playoffs and what's his face? Nick Foles left. He's like, I got to do more. And slowly but surely, you seeing him interacting and building relationships with different teammates on and off the field, which I love.
Right.
So I think that honestly, I'm really excited about what his progress is going to be and what he's going to show up as a quarterback this season, because also this guy's running around without a knee brace. That tells you a lot about how confident he is in that knee and his health. And the only other thing that people really need to people have been criticizing is his back injury, but they just released a report, I think 2 days ago, where they're just like, his back's fine.
Right, and most of that's because we're in the lull of the off season, and we're just getting a taste.
Right.
Like OTAs just wrapped up, or mini rookie camp.
Rookie camp just wrapped up.
It shows that we've been on for 2 weeks.
Right,
not rookie mini camp, but just OTAs. Excuse me. So everybody's just kind of throwing darts at the board and seeing what sticks. So overall. Yeah. If I'm the front office, the only thing I worry about is his health.
Right.
I feel like the leadership and all that stuff will take care of itself.
Right.
Because what do they always say? Winning cures all.
Yeah,
so absolutely. I don't care who has issues with them. If you're winning, they'll put all that aside. Right. Even from just a football fan watching, the only thing I'm worried about is his health. I'm not one to say, oh, well, he's injury prone.
Right.
I don't. What's the dude in the NBA played for the Bulls? Was it Jalen? No. What's his name? Always was tearing ACLs and.
Oh God.
Was it Derrick Rose?
Derrick Rose, yeah, yep.
Yeah, he's injury prone.
Yeah. That
is an example of injury prone. Jordan Reed with his concussions and other injuries, I believe it was like back issues,
right.
And he had issues. I think it was like his foot. Like to me, he is injury prone.
Right. I
feel like Carson Wentz had an unfortunate set of circumstances, so I think he'll be fine.
I think he'll be fine too,
especially because what we were talking before we started filming is the offensive line. I think they'll be able to keep him upright. You guys now have what I would consider a legitimate run game, so you keep those guys healthy. Like I said, that's going to take a lot off of Carson,
100%.
And he's going to have to learn, which I think he has, suffering a few injuries. He has to play within the pocket. That doesn't mean stand there. And
you have to move, obviously. Yep.
Yeah, he'll move. Yep. But some of those riskier things he was doing, he doesn't have to do those.
Nope, because
you have all of those weapons on the outside. You guys have beast-ass tight ends. You have running backs. Hopefully Jordan Howard can figure out how to catch out of the backfield. But if you have those outlets, he doesn't have to do all that.
Nope, because somebody's always going to be worried about somebody getting open.
Right.
Yep.
So, yeah, like I said, overall, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, he'll be good.
I'm not mad at the move. You know what I mean?
Me neither.
Obviously, you guys being in the division with us, you're just like, damn, okay. So it's the reverse of how I feel about Dak.
Right.
Go ahead and sign Dak, pay him all the money so you can't pay anybody else. I'm fine with that.
Right.
Because he doesn't scare me.
He doesn't scare me because at the end of the day, like I think this is my last point. It's his agent just sent a counter offer back for $34 million a year. And if you look at the stat lines, Carson Wentz played 8 less games and only has 8 less touchdowns than Dak Prescott. And he's only short about 750 yards passing.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, as far as passing numbers, inside and outside the pocket, he's more accurate. So if you figure that if Carson Wentz played 3 full seasons like Dak Prescott did, it wouldn't even be a conversation at this point of who the better quarterback is or who deserves the money. But also at the same time, Carson Wentz understands what it takes to be that quarterback and that leader and what that cap number should be as far as what you're going to command in that percentage of it so where you can still be successful. Mm-hmm. So I'm really, like I said, it was just smart moves all the way around, and I'm looking forward to Dak getting about 35 a year because like you said, that does not scare me.
Right, yeah. So speaking of OTAs, so Trent Williams was a no-show.
Yeah.
So all that does is invite, which, okay, I'm fine with. I mean, he's an extremely proven veteran.
Yes.
You know,
Hall of Famer,
multiple Pro Bowler or multiple-time Pro Bowler, is constantly or consistently ranked the best tackle. So
yeah,
okay, so you're not at OTAs. I don't care because he's not just sitting around eating pizzas and drinking beer like I am.
No, he's working out.
Right. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. But then there was the report of there was contract issue. So I'm thinking, damn, like he just signed a contract not too long ago.
Right.
I thought he was paid well.
Mm-hmm.
Again, with the market with cap always going up, your number, you know, now versus at that time is gonna look low.
Right.
So I'm thinking, man, is it really that? Okay, whatever. At this point, pay the man.
Right.
Like, give him a little bit more money.
Yep.
Figure out what it's gonna take to make him happy. Then it was. Apparently he was saying, I'm not going to suit up for the Redskins anymore. I don't trust the training staff, blah, 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 because he had some medical condition. I want to say it was like a tumor or something or a growth, and they had to surgically remove it. He was scared. I mean, I don't blame him.
Right.
But I'm also the type, until I hear something from him or his agent or representation
yes, sir.
puts out an official statement,
yes, sir.
I don't really care.
Yeah.
Like, we need him in the worst way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my thing is, if there's no Trent, you better not play Haskins.
No, you keep him
Like,
on the bench and learning the playbook and learning the
he
system.
is holding that clipboard.
And until you draft a legitimate tackle to replace
Right.
him, don't play him.
No,
I agree.
not at all. Not at all. So, so there's that. I'm not too worried about it.
Me neither.
If I had to give my honest opinion, I think he'll be back. If not, I mean,
It is what it is.
to me, I can't blame guys for taking care of themselves. Am
Not
I a
at
fan
all.
of the team? Do I want them to win?
Yes.
By all means, hell yeah. But I mean, I've just never been one to get in somebody's pocket. First of all,
No.
and then second of all, if it's health related or you just don't trust the training staff,
Right.
which we've spoken even on this show before. The Redskins having issues as far as their training staff and just the amount of injuries that have piled up over the years.
Yep.
Is it the training staff's problem? I mean, fault? Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
But I hope he comes back. I wish he comes back. I think he'll be back.
Right.
And hopefully it'll be much ado about nothing.
Yeah. He, like I said before, he's literally a Hall of Famer. He's one of those tackles that, you know, if he's covering your backside, you have nothing to worry about when he's healthy. And like you said before, it's one of those things where you have a legitimate quarterback coming up in Dwayne Haskins, and you do not want to put that man under harm's way or in harm's way at all. But long term with your team, one thing I can say, even though he is a Redskin, I'm excited to see Dwayne Haskins, when he starts, torch these Giants, because I think he has a huge chip on his shoulder and he has something to prove. And I think, like we talked about on previous shows, I think he's been slighted. But back to the Trent Williams thing, I wish him all the best. I hope it all works out to where he can come back and, you know, help your team do some things, just not against the Eagles.
Yeah. So the Raptors finished up the series last night.
Bruh.
They took it to the Warriors.
Yeah.
So now I was texting with my buddy Trump earlier today, and he was saying, you know, I know you guys talk about football, but are you guys going to talk about the Raptors Warriors?
Yeah.
And his point was, is the Raptors win going to have an asterisk by it because of the injuries to the Warriors?
Yeah.
Now, you'll get people who will argue both sides. I mean, you and I could probably debate that.
Yeah.
Anybody, you know, we come across can probably debate that.
Yeah.
Here's what I'll say. nobody feels sorry for the Warriors.
Nobody.
And the way that I see it is, okay, I primarily pay attention to football
Right.
or even baseball with the Nationals.
Right.
If my team is in the Super Bowl or the World Series and your team loses everybody to injuries,
That's not on us.
okay.
Yeah.
But do I really feel if KD, Clay, and Boogie was hurt for a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
if they were all healthy, do I feel like they could take it to the Raptors and win? I do.
Absolutely.
I do.
Yeah.
But it's just not.
Is
the
what it
case.
is, and it's not your problem. And here's my point adding on to that. Where were all the sympathizers when LeBron went through the same thing with
Exactly.
Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love? You know what I
Right.
mean? And he had Dellavedova as his number one
Yeah.
point guard, and this dude was still taking it to him.
Right.
So it's one of those things where, you really have to be careful with what side of the argument you're going to be on, because you can't give certain teams passes and then other teams not.
Well, and then it was just like in the playoffs with the Saints and the Rams.
Oh,
There was that blatantly missed call.
Yeah.
And now Trung is a Saints fan, so him and I debated that a while ago.
Yeah.
But there's not one Rams fan that feels bad
No.
for the Saints. You see it for what it is, like, damn, we got away with that one.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it is what it is.
It-
But like I said, I mean, I'm happy for the Raptors.
Yeah.
But to see KD with the torn Achilles, you never want to see
Never
that.
want
Klay
to see any of
Thompson
that.
with the torn ACL.
Never want to see any of
like,
that.
I mean, that stuff's horrible. But I think
In the end, it's one of those things where unfortunately it happened, but you still have to play the game. And
Right.
Going back to my Eagles and our Super Bowl run, we lost 7 starters, including our quarterback, and we still managed to do it. So at that point, there's no excuses.
Right.
So my whole and like my last part about this conversation is just get it done. Get it done, because that's what the standard is. You're in the finals, get it done.
Right.
And then, shifting a little bit to this whole Drake situation, because we
I
have
was
to
just getting ready to get
we
into
have to talk
before we
about
run out
that.
of time.
Yes, he is the ambassador to the Raptors. I get it. I understand it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, stay in your lane. Dude, you are not a player.
Right.
You are not averaging a quadruple single. You know what I'm saying? You're not on the floor. You're not suiting up. You're not shooting jumpers.
Right.
Stay on the sideline where you belong. Granted, some antics are cool. I get it. He's Drake. You're going to see a camera on him and things like that. But at the end of the day, the last thing you want to do is to take away from the game itself. When it
Right.
gets to that point, that's when I think it's a problem, and I think the NBA will further look into this now that the season's over, and then set some new rules for people who are ambassadors to the franchise, because
Right.
it definitely needs to happen, because it's a problem.
Well, not only that, but you see just anybody, like random rich guy sitting on the wood.
Yeah.
To me, you move that stuff back. Like, they have a better view than the players who are all the way down at the end of the
Right,
bench.
because you can even go back to the Kyle Lowry situation where the owner or the partial owner pushed him. That's got to change. Like, you can't.
Right.
You've got to set rules and parameters with this stuff. Granted, they did ban him for a year and fined him $500,000, but I think if this continues after that, you've really got to start setting some serious boundaries.
Right. And it's all about this.
Yeah.
Because nobody used to sit that close.
Nobody.
So, but yeah, just as far as Drake specifically, like you said, I get it. But you're running around on the court.
Right. Massaging
people.
Bruh.
Sit down. This is nothing to do. Okay. I'll tell you this. You're on stage performing and the team decides to get up on the stage and
just start
interrupt your show,
running lines and your bars and your verses and stuff like that. How pissed would you be?
Right.
So it's one of those things that has to get rectified. But
yeah. So, but hey, man, we are out of time.
Yeah, man.
And next show, I want to get into a little bit of the Dwayne Haskins stuff.
Ooh.
It's not drama, just how he's been performing and my thoughts based on that,
Right.
And where I kind of project him to start.
Yes, sir.
So we'll go from there.
All right, man.
But all right, we are out of here.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.